Hello, welcome to this special coverage on CGTN. Live from Beijing, I'm Pan Deng. It's been 40 years since China's National People's Congress Standing Committee delivered its message to compatriots in Taiwan. This historic document ushered in a new era of peaceful exchange of products, mail and personnel across the Taiwan Strait. Today, we bring you live coverage of a commemoratory event at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing, where Chinese President Xi Jinping will give his first televised speech in 2019. But first, let's look at the significance of this document 40 years ago. What message was delivered? What was the domestic political environment and international atmosphere when it happened? Jing Yingqiao explains.
It was New Year's Day of 1979, a sunny winter's day in Beijing. A day that would go down in history, as China had just launched its reform and opening up policy a year before. On that day, China's top legislature, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, issued an open letter in the People's Daily newspaper, a message to compatriots in Taiwan. The letter solemnly declared the NPC's policy on reunification in a peaceful way. The letter urged Taiwan authorities to treasure national interests and make valuable contributions to the reunification of the motherland. The letter called for the then cross-Straits military confrontation to be ended through consultations between government of the People's Republic of China and the Taiwan authorities. The letter also expressed hope that transportation and postal services between both sides would be established to make it easier for compatriots of both sides to have direct contact, write to each other, visit relatives and friends. To emphasize the sincerity of the message, the then Chinese Defense Minister Xu Xiangqian announced that, from then on, the People's Liberation Army would stop shelling Taiwan's islands, including the Kinmen Island near the mainland's Xiamen city. This would end the military confrontation underway since 1958. It was also on this New Year's Day that China and the U.S. established diplomatic relationship. The United States announced it will cut its official relationship with Taiwan and their mutual defense treaty and pull its forces from Taiwan that year. Jin Chao, CGTN.
The relationship between the Chinese mainland and Taiwan has experienced major ups and downs over the decades, both before and after the open letter was published. Now let's take a look back at some of the milestones in cross-strait relations.
After victory in the Civil War, the Communist Party took power on the Chinese mainland in 1949. The Kuomintang fled to Taiwan and continued its own government on the island. Contact between the mainland and Taiwan was cut off for decades to come. In 1971, the United Nations recognized the People's Republic of China as the sole legitimate government of China. In the 1980s, Deng Xiaoping proposed reunification on the basis of one country, two systems. In 1987, Taiwan residents were permitted to visit their families on the mainland. That led to many emotional reunions. A political breakthrough in 1992, known as the Consensus on the One China Principle, was achieved by the work of two organizations, the Mainland-based Association for Relations Across the Taiwan Straits and its counterpart in Taiwan, the Straits Exchange Foundation. That led to the landmark Wangkou Summit in 1993. Named after the leaders of the talks, representing the Chinese mainland and the Taiwan region meeting for the first time. But the mainlander increasingly saw Taiwan leader Li Denghui as promoting a separatist two-China policy. And rising tensions escalated further with the election of the Democratic Progressive Party's Chen Shui-bian in 2000, which ended more than 50 years of unbroken Kuomintang rule. 2003 saw the first commercial flight in 50 years from Shanghai to Taipei, although it was an indirect flight via Hong Kong. Tensions rose to new levels when Chen Shui-bian proposed a referendum in Taiwan on independence. The mainland warned that it would not rule out reunification by force and passed an anti-secession law in 2005. But unofficial meetings with the Kuomintang began the same year, paving the way for a dramatic improvement in cross-strait relations. That breakthrough came with the return of the Kuomintang to power in Taiwan in 2008. And a 60-year impasse was broken with a series of trade, transit, and investment deals. In November 2015, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Taiwan leader Ma Ying-jeou met in Singapore, the first ever meeting between leaders of the two sides since the end of the Chinese Civil War. However, when the Democratic Progressive Party Tsai Ing-wen took over from Ma Ying-jeou in May 2016, cross-strait relations cooled to freezing point with all official channels of communication suspended. Although Tsai remains in power, she resigned as leader of her party in November 2018 after it suffered major defeats in key midterm polls, a significant blow to her prospect for re-election in 2020. It remains to be seen how cross-strait relations will develop now. Deng Chunying, CGTN.
For more on the upcoming commemorative event, let's cross live to our reporter Zheng Yibing at Great Hall of the People in Beijing. He's been following this very closely. Hello, Yibing. What can we expect from the upcoming event?
Well, yes, Pandong. Well, this is a Great Hall of the People in Beijing. In less than half an hour, the gathering will be held here to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the most important message to compatriots in Taiwan so far. Chinese President Xi Jinping will deliver the speech, and it's estimated he will review the cross-strait relations in the past 40 years and call for efforts for the better future. To attend the gathering, there would be senior officials from the central government and representatives from all walks of life, including Taiwan compatriots and scholars. This would be an important gathering of this kind in a decade, or ever since the message to compatriots in Taiwan 40 years ago. Altogether, there have been 5 such messages. The one issued on January 1st, 1979 is the most important. It was issued by the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress on the first day of 1979, proclaiming major policies and principles of peaceful reunification of China. It also leads to an end to confrontation and opens direct cross-strait links for transportation, mail, and trade. And besides these things then, many good wishes and visions have become reality. More compatriots from Taiwan have traveled to mainland, and 31 favorable policies came into effect last year for Taiwan compatriots to live and work in the mainland. Now, representatives have entered the Great Hall of the People, and earlier we interviewed some representatives from across the strait. They expressed the same wish that the cross-strait relations will get better. In less than half an hour, the commemorative gathering will be held, and now let's wait and see what the Chinese president will say about the cross-strait relations. Pandong.
Thank you very much. Our reporter Zheng Yibing at Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Now, for more insight, let's cross live to Mr. Rong Ying, Vice President of the China Institute for International Studies in Beijing. Mr. Rong, earlier we introduced the domestic and international atmosphere when this letter was released. Now let's take a look at a whole 40 years. How would you define the role of this letter?
Well, the message certainly is significant. I think it is for the first time the central government used as a statement to proclaim, to announce a policy guideline that is to achieve reunification, China's reunification through peaceful means, open up a new era for the cross-strait relationship and making it possible for the peoples across strait to exchange, to visit each other, to have direct mail, direct and other forms of cooperation, prepare the ground for the increasing, a sense of unity, and also I think helps stabilize the relationship, which also benefits the overall peace and stability in the region.
Mr. Rong, let's get some human touch. After this letter was released, we saw the beginning of reunions of families separated on either side of the Taiwan Strait. What's been done to promote those reunions?
Indeed, I think if you look at 40 years ago, when the message was announced, and when the beginning of the visits, beginning of the exchange of the personnel, we found so many moving stories, so many moving pictures that are being separated, unfortunately, because of the war, because of the separation of Taiwan from mainland. And now, 14 years later, as we look back, and we are now entering the cross-strait relationship, the cooperation exchanges, and enter the new era. They say the compatriots in Taiwan, as with the have more opportunities, certainly for exchange and cooperation, but more importantly to enjoy the developments, the benefits of the developed China, as a Chinese nation riding internationally. I think this is important. This is important in the sense that we across the strait of Taiwan, we are all Chinese nation, and we all oppose the Taiwan independence, and we all support the peaceful reunification. And I think as we look ahead, the relationship cross-strait enter a new critical period. We're facing difficulties and challenges at the DPP authorities in Taiwan is pursuing a separation from policy of separation. It is important that we should work together so that the sense of unity and solidarity, the sense of the growing importance of communication is becoming even more important.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rong Ying, Vice President of the China Institute for International Studies. Staying our coverage, Kunshan, a small city in East China's Jiangsu province, has the nickname Little Taipei. More than 100,000 Taiwan people work and live there. In the 40 years since the mainland's reform and opening up policy, Kunshan has grown from a farming area to one of the most developed county-level cities in China. This would not be without Huck's contributions made by the Taiwan people there, but it's also much more than a place where they go to make money. Take a look.
In the 1980s, Kunshan was a small county covering 4 square kilometers, surrounded by farmland. Fast forward to today, it has been built into a dynamic and bustling city with high-rises filling its skyline. Taiwan people have been an integral part of the city's fast growth. Kunshan received its first batch of investment from Taiwan in 1990. So far, more than 4,800 companies invested in by Taiwan business people have settled here. More than 70 out of Taiwan's top 100 manufacturing companies have invested in Kunshan, contributing some 70% of the city's economy. Based on the 31 preferential policies for Taiwan issued by mainland authorities, the local government has expanded their list of offerings to attract Taiwan investment.
We were the first Taiwan-founded bank to set up a representative office on the Chinese mainland in 2002. The 31 preferential policies for Taiwan are implemented and reflected in the 68 local preferential policies by Kunshan, which encourage us to carry out small-loan business for both Taiwan-founded and local firms.
Aside from business, people from Taiwan have also engaged in local cultural exchanges, with the support of the city government. Hong Dun Yuan is now working as a composer and a conductor for the Kunshan Modern Kun Opera Theatre. His father founded the Taiwan Kun Opera Troupe in 1990, which laid the foundation for cross-strait exchanges over this type of traditional Chinese opera that originated in Kunshan. He is among the 3 young people brought from Taiwan by the theatre.
Kunshan is the home of the Quinn Opera. This theater is a very good platform to work at, with government support. Many people are trying to work here. This is just like a young city, moving forward every day.
For the Taiwan people here, Kunshan is more than just a place where they want to invest or work. It's also their home away from home. There are schools for children whose parents come from Taiwan, and the medical insurance also covers treatment provided by Taiwan-funded hospitals. A Madzu temple and other customs and cultural activities of Taiwan can also be found here, and all of these make Little Taipei a fitting nickname for Kunshan. Rory Cohn, CGTN.
Since the open letter was issued, the Chinese mainland has introduced various policies and measures to give preferential treatment to the Taiwan people. These were accelerated in 2018 with even more measures brought in, including the 31 preferential policies for Taiwan. Take a closer look.
The 31 policies were unveiled in February, covering the fields of legal rights, economy, education, culture, and tourism. 12 of the measures aim to grant Taiwan-funded enterprises equal treatment with mainland firms. The other 19 policies will gradually ensure equal treatment for Taiwan people who reside, work, and study on the mainland. As of December, 60 local authorities in 22 mainland provinces, regions, and municipalities have enacted tailored measures to implement the policies. More than 1,000 Taiwan enterprises operating on the mainland have enjoyed preferential tax. A new regulation also came into effect in September that allows people of Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan to apply for residence permits for the mainland. This gives Taiwan people equal rights in employment, social insurance, and the Housing Provident Fund as mainland residents. They can now also enjoy basic public services in various areas.
Now, those preferential policies have indeed brought many conveniences for Taiwan compatriots. So what kinds of policies did Taiwan introduce in the past year? Chuck Tinto has more.
The two sides of the Taiwan Strait are one family. The Chinese mainland further implemented preferential policies for people from Taiwan in 2018. They include easier-to-get residence permits and dozens of other measures that cover areas like taxation, employment, and education.
The
Chinese mainland is showing care and consideration to Taiwan people in all aspects, whether they are business people, professionals, or those that live, work, and study on the mainland.
This is in contrast to what Taiwan authorities did for cross-strait relations. In 2018, they refused to approve additional cross-strait flights during the Spring Festival, discouraged Taiwan people from living and working on the mainland, and promoted policies that aim to distance the island from the Chinese culture.
They want to block the friendly gestures from the Chinese mainland between people across the strait, between the Taiwan people and the mainland authorities.
There's a sharp contrast in the overall strengths of Taiwan and the mainland. So that makes Taiwan afraid and defensive. Taiwan is taking defensive measures. It is harmful and will make itself more marginalized.
In November's local elections, the pro-independence Democratic Progressive Party suffered a serious setback, losing key cities in mayoral elections to the Beijing-friendly Kuomintang.
Tsai Ing-wen believes her party's loss doesn't have a lot to do with cross-strait relations, but we think she just refuses to admit it.
Many newly elected local leaders in Taiwan have expressed support for the One China principle. This might indicate a new spring in cross-strait relations. Chuck Tinto, CGTN.
For more insights, we're now joined in the studio by our current affairs commentator, Mr. Victor Gaojikai. Thank you very much for joining us. So we're talking about Taiwan compatriots doing business on the mainland, and let's get back to that latter 40 years ago. It coincided with the opening of China's reform and opening up policy. So some are saying that Taiwan compatriots made contributions to China's development in the past 40 years, while also enjoying the benefit brought by this development. Do you think this is a fair judgment?
Yes, I agree with this judgment. 40 years ago, across the Taiwan Strait, mainland China and Taiwan were still at civil war. Hostility prevailed, and bombing, shelling of each other happened very frequently. And I think the message to the compatriots in Taiwan really brought the hostility to an end. But it took 40 years actually to gradually improve the relations, and by now mainland China is already the largest trading partner to Taiwan as an economic unit, and at any given moment there are more than 1 million or so Taiwan compatriots working, living, studying or traveling in mainland China. And from Beijing, for example, I can take a flight in the morning to Taipei, having lunch, having business meetings in the afternoon with Taiwan friends, and board an evening flight and get back to Beijing on the same day.
So you're saying that this is not only about economic benefit, but also brings people on both sides of the strait closer?
Absolutely. I think economic integration is already a fait accompli, and the political integration will still take some time. But I think very few people in Taiwan, among people in Taiwan, actually are real die-hard independent promoters of Taiwan, because most of the people in Taiwan want to have peace and stability and better living standards, and they have no problem in commingling with the compatriots in mainland China. And I think a given time, the peaceful unification eventually will work out. We need to be wary of the negative influence by other countries which may want to take Taiwan and turn it as a pawn in their geopolitical considerations. And that's the danger we need to guard against. And that involves both here in mainland China as well as there in Taiwan.
And 2 weeks ago, China marked its 40th anniversary of reform and opening up, and Chinese President Xi Jinping has vowed to continue this process and deepening reform and opening up. What kind of opportunities will this effort bring to Taiwan compatriots?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, mainland China is the largest market for almost everything that Taiwan produces, both high-tech products like semiconductor products as well as agricultural products, which are very important to farmers in Taiwan. Further, mainland China is providing all the facilities, for example, enabling people in Taiwan to study here, to work here, and in many cases their professional degrees and certifications, for example, are recognized here in mainland China. So eventually, as I mentioned, economic integration is already happening. It's a fait accompli. No one can turn that around. And going forward, they will enjoy greater benefits. I think back in the 1980s...
What about prospects for individuals, especially for the young people? They need good education. They need a career. So do you think the Chinese mainland can offer more of that in the near future?
Absolutely. We are talking about 23 million people in Taiwan versus almost 1.4 billion people here in mainland China. And the Chinese economy as a whole is much, much larger and much more comprehensive than that in Taiwan. So by engaging with mainland China, it will involve many opportunities, many unheard of opportunities for many people in Taiwan, especially for the younger generation. So I would urge people in Taiwan, especially the younger generation, to really study very hard about the realities and changes here in mainland China and try to identify one or several roles that they can play, which will not only serve themselves better, but also serve the interest of Taiwan as well as mainland China. Eventually it will work out, and eventually it will be a very rewarding and winning business proposition.
Well, Victor, we'll be getting back to you on this. The mid-20th century has seen deep divisions between the island of Taiwan and the Chinese mainland, but some who were part of that history managed to keep the bonds of unity that span the Taiwan Strait alive despite the odds. Xu Mengqi reports.
He said he wanted to leave behind a big, beautiful garden for his hometown, and he did it.
It's hard to imagine that 30 years ago, this picturesque landscape was a muddy wasteland. That was before late Taiwanese entrepreneur Jiang Qibi turned it into a golf course for his hometown, Lianjiang, a county just outside the city of Fuzhou. Flashback to 1949. When Kuomintang lost the Chinese Civil War, Jiang Qibi, still a boy at the time, left with his father for Taiwan. Decades later, when the Chinese mainland started its reform and opening up, Jiang returned as an established businessman.
At that time, it was really quite poor here. So I told him it was useless to build a shopping center. But he said, I just want to give back. I want my hometown to prosper.
Now, Jiang Qibi's memory lives on in the lives of the people whose town he helped transform.
Back then, our local education was seriously underdeveloped, and we had only one school. He set up the Youxi Scholarship in Lianjiang and played a very important role in motivating the students.
After I was awarded with a scholarship, I learned that Mr. Jiang not only wanted to encourage us in our studies, but he also hoped we could one day contribute to the development of our hometown as well.
Having taken over her father's business, Jiang Peiqi now calls Lianjiang her second home.
I hope to eventually make this place an internationally renowned wellness retreat with a retirement center and an organic farm for tourism. These are all some of Taiwan's strong suits, and I want to combine the best resources from across the strait to make it happen.
Well, Victor, let's continue to talk about this. And while we're talking about this, you're watching live footage on the left side of your screen from the Great Hall of the People, a commemorative event marking the 40th anniversary of the letter to compatriots in Taiwan is about to start, and Chinese President Xi Jinping is going to make a very important speech regarding cross-strait ties. So, talking about this, Victor, we have to mention the 1992 consensus. Tell us what exactly is it and why it's so important today.
Well, up to 1992, Chinese mainland always considered itself as the sole legitimate representative of China. And in Taiwan, the local government or the Republic of China always considered it as the sole legitimate government of China. So there was a dispute as to which country, for example, or which unit would take precedence over the other. Now, in 1992, the two sides met in Singapore, and through very much of hard work and creativity, they acknowledged that there will be only one China. No matter whatever differences you may have, it will be secondary to the overall ultimate concept of one China. So, one China policy became the cardinal principle governing all respects of cross-strait relations. And I think when we talk about the 1992 consensus, it means that the government and people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait acknowledge that they belong to one China. There will be no two China or one China, one Taiwan, or other forms of, for example, quasi dispute between the two sides. And I think this created the overall framework for the Chinese mainland and for Taiwan to approach each other to increase their economic integration and pave the way for the future political integration, which eventually, I believe, will involve and generate the peaceful reunification of China.
Having said that, it also lays a very serious and stern bottom line by saying that no one should play fair with this one China policy, right?
Absolutely. I think there are some people in Taiwan, including, unfortunately, the current local leader in Taiwan, who may believe that they may actually twist the realities in Taiwan and in the cross-strait relations in such a way that they may...
Since you mentioned that, the DPP is a party who puts Taiwan independence in its party manifesto, right?
Exactly, and I think this exactly is the reason for sometime deterioration in the cross-strait relations. But I am confident to say that even DPP members may not want to have the so-called confrontation with Chinese mainland, because they know this will be a dead end and this will bring disaster to the compatriots and brothers and sisters in Taiwan. And I think it's very encouraging to hear some of the leaders in that particular party to claim that the party did not belong or does not belong to Ms. Tsai Ing-wen, and the party actually does not have a manifest destiny of promoting Taiwan independence. So I think things are changing in Taiwan, including this political party.
What do you mean by things are changing? Change for good or change for worse?
I think things are changing for better. Why? Because if we look at the local election, which concluded just recently, KMT had an overwhelming victory. They started the election at about 20% of the local representatives, for example. Eventually, they ended up with almost 70% of the seats in the local government. And I think they are also well positioned for the 2020 so-called presidential election in Taiwan. And I think this election results, no matter how you interpret, at least demonstrated that people in Taiwan, in their multitude and overwhelming majority, did not support the so-called pro-independence approach of Ms. Tsai Ing-wen, and they want to have peace and stability and greater prosperity.
Right. Let's cross live to the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. You're watching live footage from the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping has just entered the venue to attend a commemorative event marking the 40th anniversary of the publish of the message to compatriots in Taiwan. Again, you're watching live footage from the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping is attending this event marking the 40th anniversary of the letter to compatriots in Taiwan.
同志们，
Dear
朋友们，
comrades, friends,
告台湾同胞书
the
发表
message to
40周年
compatriots
纪
in
念会
Taiwan
现在
for the
开始，
40th anniversary
请
is
全体
now
起立，
begun with
唱
our
中华人民共
commemoration.
和
Now
国
let's rise
国
up
歌。
to sing the national anthem. Please take your seat.
40年前的元旦，
On New
也就
Year's
是
Day, 40 years
1979年
ago, that
1
is
月
January
1
the 1st,
全国
1979,
人民代表大会
the
常
Standing
委员会
Committee of the
发表
National
了
People's
告台湾同胞
Congress
书，
established
郑重
an
宣示
open
了
letter to Taiwan
争取祖
compatriots,
国和平统
solemnly
一的大
declaring
政
the
方针，
general policies of peaceful
提出了
reunification of the
结
Chinese
束
nation
军事
and
对
putting
峙的
forward
状
several
态，
key propositions, such
实
as
现
ending
两岸
military
同胞
confrontations,
自由往来，
implementing people-to-people
通航
exchange,
通邮
cross-Straits
通商和开展
transportation,
经济文化
postal
交流
services,
等
and
重要主张。
economic and cultural exchanges between the
40
two
年来，
sides of the Taiwan
中
Strait.
国共产党
Over the past
中国
40
政
years,
府
the
和
Communist
中国
Party
人
of
民
China, the
为
Chinese
实现
government,
祖
and the
国的
Chinese
和平
people
统
have
一
been
进
making
行了
unremitting
不懈
efforts
努力。
for the peaceful reunification of the
党中
Chinese
央
nation.
与时俱进，
The
丰
party's
富
Central
发展
Committee has
对
been
台大政方针，
enriching the general
扎
policies
实推
towards
进对
Taiwan
台
to
工
keep
作，
pace with the
两
times
岸同
and
胞
pushing forward
同
their
舟共进，
implementation. Compatriots on
砥砺
both
前
sides
行，
have been working
两岸关
hard
系
and
总体
forging
面
ahead
貌
together.
发生了
The
历史
overall
性变
outlook
化。
of the cross-strait relationship has
告
seen
台湾
historical
同胞书
changes.
中的许多主张
Many of the
变
propositions
成了
in the
生动的
message to
现实。
compatriots in Taiwan has become
今
a
天
vivid
我们在这里
reality.
隆重集
Today,
会，
we are
纪
gathering
念
here
告台湾
to
同胞书
commemorate the
发表40
40th
周年，
anniversary of the publication
就是要
of
回
this
顾
message
两
to
岸关系走
compatriots
过的
in
非凡
Taiwan.
历程，
We are here
总结
to
经
review
验，
the extraordinary
继往
history
开来，
of our
继
cross-strait
续坚
relations
持
and
和
sum
平
up our
统一，
experience and
一国
carry
两制
forward
方针，
the
推动两岸关
policies
系
of
和
peaceful
平发展，
reunification and
推
one
进
country,
祖
two
国
systems.
和
We
平
will
统
push
一的
forward
进程。
peaceful development of our relationship
出席
and
今天纪念
promote
会的
the
有
peaceful reunification
中共中
of
央
the
总
Chinese
书记
nation. Today with
国家
us,
主
we have the
席
General
中
Secretary
央
of
军
the
委主
Communist
席
Party of
习
China
近平
Central
同志，
Committee, the Chinese President and Chairman of Central Military Commission, Comrade Xi Jinping.
中共中央政治局常委、
Member of
全
the
国人大
Standing Committee of
常
the
委会
Political
委员
Bureau of
长
CPC
栗
Central
战书
Committee
同
and
志，
Chairman of the Standing Committee of NPC, Comrade Li Zhanshu.
出席纪念会的还
Other
有
attendees
党
to the
和国家
commemoration
其他有
are
关领导
leaders
同
of the
中央
PRC
党政
and
军
the
各部门
CPC, representatives from various departments of the party, government, military, and civil groups, representatives from Beijing municipal government, leaders of democratic parties, All China Federation of Industry and Commerce, Taiwan compatriots, experts and scholars on the cross-strait affairs, representatives of citizens, soldiers, officials from PLA and People's Armed Police. Next, please welcome the member of the Political Bureau of CPC Central Committee and Vice Chairman of the Standing Committee of NPC, Wang Chen, to make a speech. Your Excellency General Secretary Xi Jinping, dear comrades and friends, on January the 1st, 1979, the Standing Committee of the NPC published the message to compatriots in Taiwan, which represents the will of the people in China. It officially proposes the policies of peaceful reunification of China to establish direct trade links in mail, transport, and trade, and better economic exchanges. The cross-strait relationship has ushered in a new historical chapter. Over the past 40 years, the CPC Central Committee innovatively proposed the one country, two systems and put it into practice. We have kept improving our policies towards Taiwan and keep advancing the peaceful reunification of China, particularly since the 18th National Congress, under the leadership of CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping as the core. Our work towards Taiwan affairs has made big headways. General Secretary Xi Jinping delivered a series of keynote speeches and instructions, raising the concept of one family on both sides of the straits, and he highlights the necessity to insist on peaceful reunification and one country, two systems to generate peaceful development of cross-strait relationship and peaceful reunification of China. He also solemnly announced that we have firm will, confidence, and capacity to thwart any form of separatism. Any inch of our sacred land cannot be separated. General Secretary Xi Jinping has given some significant instructions about our work of Taiwan affairs, serving as the basic design and action guide for solving Taiwan issue and realizing peaceful reunification of China. 40 years on, the NPC and the Standing Committee has been implementing the CPC Central Committee's instructions and policies to serve the big picture. They have executed their power and made solid contributions to the cross-strait relationship and peaceful reunification. Economic, trade, and personal exchanges are the basis of the cross-strait relationship. In March 1994, the NPC Standing Committee has published a law of investment protection for Taiwan compatriots to protect the legal rights and interests of Taiwan compatriots and investors. So for those Taiwan compatriots who invest in the Chinese mainland, they have been safeguarded legally. To implement this law, the NPC Central Committee and the Standing Committee has convened 2 rounds of inspections about law implementation. They have listened to and deliberated on the report of State Council on relevant work progress, supporting State Council and local governments to formulate a set of laws, regulations, and policies, forming a complete legal system to protect the legal rights of Taiwan investors in the Chinese mainland. In September 2016, the NPC Standing Committee revised this law, further facilitating Taiwan compatriots' investment in the Chinese mainland. Since the promulgation of this law, it has played a pivotal role in promoting economic and trade cooperation and personnel exchanges across the strait. In 2017, the personnel exchange stood at 8.78 million, with a trade volume of $199.4 billion US. That was about 175 times more and 132 times more respectively compared to those figures in 1987, greatly boosting our friendship and well-being across the straits. The One China policy is the political foundation of the cross-strait relationship. For the separatism coming on the stage and rampant separatist behaviors and their plot to utilize the methods like referendum or constitutional reform to separate China, in March 2005, on the 3rd plenary session of the 10th NPC, we have passed the anti-succession law, legalizing our policies about solving Taiwan issue. This signals our goodwill to do our utmost to strive for peaceful reunification of China. It also demonstrates that all the Chinese people are firmly against separatism in Taiwan, and we have solid determination to safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity. The promulgation and implementation of the anti-succession law is playing a pivotal role in curbing separatism behaviors and in promoting cross-strait relationship development and avoiding any external intervention in Taiwan affairs. The CPC Central Committee and the national government have always respected and supported Taiwan compatriots to play active role in managing the national affairs. The decision of the 5th NPC has decided that before the full unification of China, Taiwan will temporarily select 13 NPC deputies. For the remaining candidates, their names will be reserved according to the population proportion. For a long time, those NPC deputies and standing committee members born in Taiwan have actively participated in the national governance, and they have contributed their wisdom to national economic and social development with a lot of constructive proposals. For those proposals, relevant agencies have taken them seriously in implementation, solving many investment, employment, and issues of studying for Taiwan compatriots, cementing our bond across the strait. Sticking to the One China policy and safeguarding national sovereignty and territorial integrity is the core interest of our nation. NPC and its standing committee has always taken such national core interest as major contents of our external relationships. We actively publicize the policies concerning Taiwan issue. We mobilize all factors to contribute to creating a better external environment for cross-strait relationship. For the wrong words and deeds done by foreign countries about Taiwan issue, we will deliver some statement to clarify our solemn stance. We will safeguard national sovereignty, security, and development interests. According to the Chinese Constitution, Taiwan is an integral part of the PRC's land, and realizing the reunification of China is the secret mission and responsibility of all Chinese people, including Taiwan compatriots. Under the leadership of CPC Central Committee, with President Xi Jinping as the core, the NPC's Standing Committee will implement the socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era according to General Secretary Xi Jinping and also his many instructions about Taiwan affairs. We will execute the CPC Central Committee's decisions and arrangements about Taiwan work and insist on peaceful reunification and one country, two systems, as well as the concept of one family on both sides of the strait. To build a community with a shared future, we will improve legal system, effectively execute the laws, protect the Taiwan compatriots' legal rights and interests, to have integrated social and economic development across the strait. We will carry forward the Chinese culture, fight against any separatist behaviors, and we will contribute more to solve Taiwan issue, realize full reunification of China, and protecting the fundamental interests of the Chinese nation.
Please welcome Vice Chairman of the CPPCC National Committee and Chairman of the Central Committee of Taiwan Democratic Self-Government League to give a speech. Ms. Su Hui. Honorable General Secretary Xi Jinping, comrades, friends, upon the coming of a new year, we gather here in commemoration of the 40th anniversary of the issuing of a message to compatriots in Taiwan. Back in 1978, a narrow strait has blocked messages of families and way back home. We are at this side of the strait, and hometown is on the other side. Decades of homesickness have become regrets of thousands of people. To address Taiwan issue and realize national reunification has become the appeal of the country as well as the wish of the nation. In December 1978, the third plenary session of the 11th Central Committee was held, ushering a new era for reform and opening up in the Chinese mainland. The Taiwan Compatriots will not forget that in a communique of the committee, for the first time, the wording liberating Taiwan was replaced by Taiwan returning to motherland and realize peaceful reunification. 10 days after the meeting, on the January 1st of 1979, the Standing Committee of NPC issued the message to the compatriots in Taiwan, announcing policy and principles to work towards peaceful reunification, proposing a series of measures and ushering a new era for cross-strait relations. It takes time and effort to promote this great cause. 40 years after the issuing of the messages, with the guiding principle of the Central Party Committee, the cross-strait relation continued to lean towards peaceful development and integration. The achievement of reform and opening up and continuous progress of the mainland has made it more and more attractive and compelling to the Taiwan compatriots, especially after the 18th National Congress of the CPC, with the guidance of General Secretary Xi Jinping's important statements of Taiwan affairs. The Chinese mainland worked as the major promoter and initiator of cross-strait relations and cope with the changes of the strait and resist and curb any Taiwan independence attempts to safeguard peace and stability across the strait. As a participating party formed by Taiwan compatriots living in the mainland, our league has deep feelings for this experience. When the doctors came to the Midwestern area of the mainland, they said that it is amazing to see that even the remote areas in the mainland is developing so fast, and the mainland leaders are truly remarkable. The high school principals from Taiwan, when visiting the mainland, seeing these achievements, he said that it's natural for rivers and streams to finally merge into the sea. I believe that the cross-strait relations will also develop through this direction. In the past 40 years, in the great cause of reform and opening up in the Chinese mainland, the Taiwan compatriots work alongside our counterparts to participate in this effort and made great achievement. The League has helped introduce foundings from Taiwan and encouraged Taiwan compatriots to come to the mainland to work. Since then, we have witnessed a lot of our compatriots welcoming a new spring for their causes and careers. We saw Taiwan farmers who has been working for more than 20 years in agricultural park in the mainland. They were smallhold farmers in the island. However, using the great platform in the mainland, they became entrepreneurs owning pastures of thousands of acres. Their children and grandchildren also chose to stay in the Chinese mainland. We are more than glad to see that in order to promote equal treatment, the government has issued the measures to promote cross-strait cultural and economic exchanges, making it more and more convenient for Taiwan compatriots to live in China. Now they have full access to high-speed railways, mobile payment, shared communication, higher education, and Internet Plus. Has made the mainland a dream place for young people in Taiwan. From 3 direct links to introducing Taiwan funds to Western regions, from supporting the Belt and Road participation to unifying the youth from across the strait. Over the 40 years, we have made a lot of appeals, which also reflect how the two compatriots contribute and enjoy the benefit of reform and opening up. Over the past 40 years, the cross-strait relations has experienced also some twists and turns, giving us many important and deep lessons. most importantly, is that we have to stay committed to peaceful reunification and one country, two system principle, to stick to one China principle and 1992 consensus, to stick to the peaceful development across the strait, to unify the compatriots and join hands to work towards national rejuvenation and create a better future. The homeland is just across the strait, and I long to go back to my motherland. This is a statement made by one of the predecessors of the League, who chose to be part of the revolution, and this reflects the patriotism shared by generations and generations of League members. And this also reflects their deep awareness of the love for the motherland, as well as their aspirations for reunification and national rejuvenation. Currently, socialists with Chinese characteristics are going to a new era and is gaining new momentum. It is the right time for compatriots across the strait to join hands and promote cross-strait ties to continue to develop, as well as the process of peaceful reunification in order to realize the great Chinese dream of national rejuvenation. Upon the celebration of the New Year, and at this particular day, on behalf of our League and all the Taiwan compatriots living in the Chinese mainland, and wish our families back in Taiwan a Happy New Year. And we also wish our country peace and prosper.
Now please welcome Party Secretary and Vice Chairman, as well as the First Secretary of the Secretariat of All China Women's Federation, Madam Huang Xiaowei, to give a speech. Your Excellency General Secretary Xi Jinping, distinguished comrades and dear friends, in the New Year occasion of 1979, there was one day that should be remembered by compatriots across the strait. On that day, the NPC Standing Committee published the message to compatriots in Taiwan. The report, with only 1,800 characters, was just like the first blossoming flower in the early spring of reform and opening up, injecting vibrance into the peaceful development of cross-strait relationship, opening a new chapter for the peaceful reunification of China. Today, we are reviewing this epoch-making document to review the 40 years of extraordinary journey we have walked along with our compatriots in Taiwan. We are firm believers of the socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era proposed by General Secretary Xi Jinping, and we have more solid determination and confidence to unite compatriots across the strait for great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. 40 years on, the CPC Central Committee has been enriching and developing their policies about the Taiwan affairs, particularly since the 18th National Congress. General Secretary Xi Jinping starts from the overall fundamental interests of the Chinese nation to propose peaceful reunification and one China, two systems policies, and he highlights that we must insist on the one China policy as well as the 1992 consensus, and he proposed the concept of one family across the straits, enriching the contents of our policies towards Taiwan affairs in this new era, and blazing a new trail for peaceful development of cross-strait relationship. 40 years on, after our common efforts across the straits, many propositions in this message has been turned into realities. We have direct string links, and we have more frequent personal exchange, becoming an overwhelming trend in this new era. We also have closer economic relationship serving as the most vibrant factor in our cross-strait relationship. We also have more active cultural exchanges, serving as the bridge among the people across the strait, facilitating their heartfelt communication. So those are fruitful results of our peaceful development of cross-strait relationship. Such development is inseparable from the participation and contribution of the women. As half the sky, women have always been an integral part of our peaceful reunification. For years, all China Women's Federation and the Federation branches in different localities have been observing the CPC Central Committee's policies about Taiwan affairs, particularly the instructions delivered by General Secretary Xi Jinping. So based on the big picture, we will fully serve our role as the bond across the strait to facilitate the women's communication and exchanges and to gather the patriots and reunification lovers. We are practicing the concept proposed by General Secretary Xi Jinping, that is, we are one family across the strait. We will take the platform of the Strait Women Forum. For 10 years consecutively, we have convened such activities themed under green development, environmental protection, and family. We have stepped up our support of the Shoulai ethnicity in Taiwan, the community development, household development, grassroots women association development, and young female college students, pairing those communities, families, and grassroots social organizations, and strengthening their bond to deepen their communication with a long-term mechanism. We stay local with those women in Taiwan in different fields to enhance their communication across different women organizations, including those immigrant women. We have held 2 female college students innovation and entrepreneurship forum. We have also held some children exchange activities across the strait. Meanwhile, we have a very colorful featured exchange programs for the Women's Federation. For example, the Beijing Taiwan Technological Forum for Women and Shanghai Taiwan Women's Cultural Week, as well as Yunnan Taiwan Female Entrepreneurs Exchange activities. We have formed a multidimensional landscape for such work. We are also implementing the 31 measures for Taiwan compatriots to support Taiwan female compatriots to start their business and work in the Chinese mainland, and actively participate in poverty alleviation, educational support, non-profit activities, and community development in the Chinese mainland. For those excellent Taiwan female compatriots, we listed them into the candidates of women pace setters, 5 virtual families, the best families, and we encourage those provincial and municipal women's federations in Beijing, Shanghai, Fujian, Guangdong, Jiangsu, and Zhejiang to explore new pathways for such connection. Fujian Provincial Women's Federation encourage the Taiwan-funded enterprises to establish the Women's Committee, and in the regions with a cluster of Taiwan-funded enterprises, we establish the Home for Women to encourage the remarkable women in Taiwan to serve as the vice chairman part-time for those provincial women's federation. So we will also recommend those remarkable families to win the 5 Virtual Family Award. Those are tangible measures to deliver the sense of acquisition and honor to Taiwan female compatriots. We are pleased to see that such women communication has been extended with more innovative forms and richer contents. As a result, our hearts are brought closer with deeper bond. Not long ago, we have received the Association for Taiwan-China Strait Women Economic and Trade Cultural Association with 40 sisters coming to our entity. Even though this was our first time of meeting, we have been holding each other's hands throughout this activity. And in such communication, the female entrepreneurs in Taiwan have expressed their will to participate in the Chinese mainland's reform and opening up, economic and social development, their enthusiasm and aspiration was inspiring to me. I deeply felt that the tide of blood across the strait cannot be cut off, and the economic and social integrated development is an inevitable trend. So compatriots across the strait will certainly co-create prosperity along our pathway towards national rejuvenation. Cross-strait relationship development is progressing along with reform and opening up, and it will surely exhibit a brighter future in this new era. On the commemoration day of the 40th anniversary of reform and opening up, General Secretary Xi Jinping repeatedly announced our will and determination to deepen cross-strait economic and cultural communication and cooperation to benefit compatriots across the strait. Later on, General Secretary Xi Jinping will deliver instructions to point out the new direction of cross-strait relationships and peaceful development of such relationship in this new era. We must observe the spirit of the instructions by General Secretary Xi Jinping and take the platform of those activities for cross-strait connection. We will stay local and deeply rooted in the grassroots families to have a multi-level communication. For women, we must encourage women across the strait to deepen their cooperation in carrying forward Chinese culture and playing a bigger role and unique role in social and family lives. And we will help more Taiwan sisters to come to the Chinese mainland for study, for work, or start their business, or invest in the Chinese mainland, so as to inject more dynamism into the peaceful development of cross-strait relations. Realizing the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation is the common aspiration of the Chinese people. Standing at this new historical point, women across the strait must unite closely and ride along with the historical trend and accommodate the overall national interests. We must fight against separatism and co-build the community with a shared future across the strait and lead the way of peaceful reunification of China. Let's make unremitting efforts for the beautiful future of great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation.
Please welcome Director of Taiwan Office of the CP Central Committee and Taiwan Office of State Counsel Liu Jieyi to give a speech. Honorable General Secretary Xi Jinping, comrades, friends. On January 1st, 1997, the Standing Committee of the NPC issued a message to compatriots in Taiwan announcing the general principles and policies for peaceful reunification, ushering a new era for cross-strait relations. Today, we relive these important documents contemplating the history of cross-strait relations development and aspire to the bright future for national rejuvenation. We are ever more confident in continuing to implement these policies and accomplish our mission in order to promote cross-strait relations development and the peaceful reunification process. The message to compatriots in Taiwan is a milestone that marks an important development of the CPC's policies toward Taiwan. In the past 70 years, since the establishment of the PRC, the Party Central Committee has been remaining consistent, but also been evolving with the times when it comes to Taiwan policies. Especially since the 18th National Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping has adopted a holistic standpoint to realize national rejuvenation and remain a key insight for challenges both internationally and across the strait. Drew upon the policies and practices since the founding of the PRC and proposed a series of informative and in-depth concepts and measures, as well as policies, forming important statement of work of Taiwan affairs, and provide an important foundation and action plan for our work. With the leadership of the Party Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we act as the initiator and promoter of of cross-strait relations and develop the cross-strait relations despite challenges. In the process of our development, the Party Central Committee continues to lead us to overcome setbacks and make new progress and usher in new eras. With the guidance of the principles and policies of the Party Central Committee, we made breakthroughs on the basis of One China principle. In 1992, the Association for Relations Across the Taiwan Strait and the Strait Exchange Foundation reached the 92 consensus embodying the One China principle. On that basis, the Wangku talks were held, making another historical breakthrough. In 2005, the leaders of the CPC and the KMT held historical talks to further promote and reach this vision of developing cross-strait relations. In 2015, the two leaders across the strait conducted a historical meeting, a first-ever direct dialogue of the party leaders, taking the cross-strait relations to a new level, leaving great implications in history. With the guidance of the principles and policies of the Party Central Committee, we continue to promote the development and cooperation across the board. In 1987, we broke the segregation state, and since then we see more and more frequent exchanges of personal exchanges, economic and cultural exchanges. Especially after the 19th National Congress, we continue to uphold the principle that the compatriots from across the street are a family. We encourage the Taiwan compatriots to participate in opportunities in the mainland and provide equal treatment for them in the study, work, and life. A lot of measures and policy are deepened and further implemented. From 1988 to 2018, altogether, the personal exchanges amount to 104 million person times, among which 104 million are Taiwan compatriots, which covers all walks of life in Taiwan. The trade volume exceeds 2.6 trillion USD, and the mainland has approved 105,000 Taiwan-funded projects. The mainland has been Taiwan's biggest importer, source of trade surplus, and investment destination. In 2018, our trade cooperation exchanges made new historical high. And our development and cooperation is advancing across the board, showing that our kinship has continued to deepen. With the guidance of the policies and principles of the Party Central Committee, we stand committed to safeguarding the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our nation, crack down all kinds of Taiwan independence attempts, dealing with external interference, and in strengthening and support for the One China state, ensuring our interest of the Chinese nation as well as the interest of compatriots across the strait. Looking into the future with the strong leadership of the Party Central Committee with General Secretary Xi Jinping at its core, we have great expectations for cross-strait relations. Peaceful reunification and one country, two system is the best way to address Taiwan issue and realize national rejuvenation, and it will gain new momentum in the new era and will become more and more widely applauded across the strait. The Chinese across the strait will continue to stick to One China policy and the 1992 consensus, and we are fully capable of addressing our own problem. Any separatist attempts and the secession activities severely hinder the fundamental interests of the compatriots and the Chinese nation, and it will never prevail and is doomed to fail. And our relations will continue to grow for the better and stronger. The trend to realize unification will become much stronger. The socialism with Chinese characteristics has entered in a new era. To realize the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, we will unite even closer around the Central Party Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, and guided by the Xi Jinping thoughts on socialism with Chinese characters for a new era and carry through the 19th National Congress spirit and work upon the important statement of General Secretary Xi Jinping's statement. And will continue to practice the policies and principles and make new progress and achievement in order to promote the cross-strait relations and peaceful reunification and realize the great Chinese dream of national rejuvenation.
Now, please welcome General Secretary of Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, President of PRC, and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Mr. Xi Jinping, to deliver the keynote speech. Comrades, compatriots, and friends, today we hold this grand meeting to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the delivery of the message to compatriots in Taiwan. On this New Year occasion, on behalf of the people on the Chinese mainland, I wish to extend my sincere greetings and heartfelt wishes to all my compatriots in Taiwan. The two sides of Taiwan Strait have already been separated for 70 years. The generation and evolvement of the Taiwan issue was actually bound to the fate of the Chinese nation in modern times. Since 1840 of the Opium War, facing the invasion of Western powers, China was caught in domestic turmoil and foreign invasion and national disintegration. Taiwan was also invaded and occupied by a foreign power for over a half-century. To defeat the foreign invasion and struggle for national liberation, achieve national unification, the Chinese people fought heroically and tragically, one stepping into the breach as another fell. Our compatriots in Taiwan have made great contributions in this fight. In 1945, the Chinese people won the war of resistance against Japanese aggression, which was also the global war against fascism, together with the people from other countries across the world. Taiwan was thereby liberated and returned to the motherland. Not long after that, due to the unforeseen length of China's civil war and interference from foreign powers, the two sides across the strait fell into a long-term special situation of a political confrontation. Since 1949, the Communist Party of China, the Chinese government, and the Chinese people have always put the Taiwan issue and the full realization of national unification as an unshakable historical task. We have been encouraging our compatriots in Taiwan to help in the effort of easing the situation on both sides of the strait by easing and improving the tense confrontation between the two sides, and on the basis achieving peaceful development. The cross-strait relations have witnessed constant breakthroughs. over the past 70 years, to comply with the common aspirations of the people from the two sides, we have worked to break our isolation from each other and achieved the comprehensive direct three links, and pushed forward the grand prospect of exchanges and cooperation between the compatriots from the two sides. Cross-strait cooperation and exchanges have been more extensive. Our mutual contacts have been increasingly intimate. The minds of the people on both sides of the strait are becoming more alike. Our compatriots in Taiwan have made great contributions to the reform and opening up process on the Chinese mainland, and have also shared its development opportunities. Over the past 70 years, we have been upholding the spirit of seeking common ground while shelving differences, and we supported each other on our 1992 consensus that both sides of the Taiwan Strait belong to one China, and will work together to achieve national unification. We helped open cross-strait negotiations, promoted cross-strait party-to-party exchanges, and blazed a new pathway for the peaceful development of our cross-strait relationship. We achieved a historical meeting between the leaders of the two sides, and pushed cross-strait political interactions into a new height. Over the past 70 years, we moved with the times in developing our cross-strait relationship. We proposed the policy of peaceful settlement of the Taiwan issue and the scientific concept of one country, two systems. We also established the fundamental policy of peaceful reunification and one country, two systems. Our basic strategy of upholding the one country, two systems policy and promoting the reunification of the motherland answered the most pressing issue in the new era of promoting peaceful development of our cross-strait relationship and uniting our Taiwan compatriots in a joint endeavor to realize the great national rejuvenation and peaceful unification of the motherland. Over the past 70 years, we have held aloft the banner of peace, development, cooperation, and win-win. We advanced friendly cooperation with other countries based on the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, and consolidated the acknowledgement from the international community on the One China principle. More and more countries and people understand and support the great cause of the unification of the Chinese nation. Over the past 70 years, we have always kept an eye on the Chinese nation's overall and long-term interests, firmly safeguarding our national sovereignty and territorial integrity, uniting all Chinese people against all kinds of plots to create two Chinas or one China, one Taiwan. And we also have achieved a great victory in frustrating the Taiwan independence movement and other separatist activities. The development of the cross-strait relationship has proven that nobody or no party can historically or legally change the fact that Taiwan is a part of China, and both sides of the Taiwan Strait belong to one China. Compatriots across the strait are all Chinese. Nobody or no party can negate the natural attachment and national identity shared by people of the two sides, featuring our deep blood bonds and affinity to each other. Nobody or no party can stop the trend. The Taiwan Strait situation will march towards peace and stability, and the cross-strait relationship will move forward constructively. That trend can also not be stopped by anybody or any party. And nobody or no party can ever resist the historical trend of a country empowering itself, national rejuvenation, and the reunification of the two sides of the strait. Comrades, compatriots, and friends. The purpose of reviewing history is to inspire today and enlighten tomorrow. China must unify and is bound to unify. This is the final conclusion from 70 years of cross-strait development and is a necessary requirement for the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation in the new era. The Chinese people on both sides of the strait and the Chinese people at home and abroad should jointly shoulder our overall national interest and comply with historical trends, jointly work to promote the peace and development of the cross-strait relationship and the process of the peaceful reunification of China. First, making joint efforts to promote national rejuvenation and realize the target of peaceful unification. National rejuvenation and national unification is an irresistible trend and is in line with the principle of righteousness and is the common aspiration of the people. Separated by a strip of water, the mainland and Taiwan are so near and yet so far. The two sides have not yet completely unified, which is a historical wound for the Chinese people to endure. Chinese people on both sides should make joint efforts to seek national unification and heal that wound. As Chinese, the people of Taiwan should live with dignity, sincerely think about the status and role of Taiwan in national rejuvenation. They must look to complete the process of national full unification and jointly seek the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation as a glorious cause. The future of Taiwan lies in national unification. The welfare of the people of Taiwan is closely related with national rejuvenation. The peaceful development of the cross-strait relationship is the right way to safeguard cross-strait peace, promote the common development of the two sides, and benefit the people on both sides of the strait. The peaceful development of the cross-strait relations needs promoting and safeguarding, and this should be shared by the compatriots of both sides. The Chinese dream is one shared by compatriots on both sides of the strait. Only with national rejuvenation and national prosperity can compatriots on both sides of the strait live affluent and beautiful lives. For the Chinese people who are striding towards the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, the Taiwan compatriots will not be absent. Compatriots on the mainland and Taiwan should join hands to realize the Chinese dream and take responsibility together for national rejuvenation and share the glory of national rejuvenation. The Taiwan issue was caused by the weakness and chaos of the Chinese nation and will surely be resolved through national rejuvenation. Second, exploring the Taiwan solution within the framework of one country, two systems, enriching the experiences of peaceful unification. Peaceful unification and one country, two systems is the best solution for unification of the country. As the old saying goes, the sea embraces many rivers to attain greatness. The solution reflects this wisdom, which is based on Taiwan's reality and benefits the long-term security and stability of Taiwan after national unification. The difference in systems is not an obstacle to unification or an excuse for separation. One country, two systems was raised to accommodate Taiwan's reality and safeguard the interests and benefits of Taiwan compatriots. How the one country, two systems policy works in Taiwan is based on Taiwan's reality. Opinions from all walks of life on both sides, as well as the interests and feelings of the people in Taiwan. Under the precondition of ensuring national sovereignty, national security, and in the interest of development after peaceful unification, Taiwan compatriots will be fully respected in terms of their social system and lifestyle. Their private assets, religions, and beliefs and legitimate rights of the people in Taiwan will also be fully guaranteed.
People on both sides of the strait belong to one family, and cross-strait issues are family affairs. So they should be resolved by family members. Peaceful reunification means negotiation on an equal footing and through joint discussions. The long-term political difference which have existed between the two sides are the fundamental issues influencing the long-term stability of our cross-strait relations. They should not be passed down through generations. Both sides should take responsibility for the Chinese nation and our offspring by contributing wisdom and of creativeness, by dissolving differences and consolidating consensus at an early date so as to rid ourselves the opposition, realizing long-term peace across the Taiwan Strait, and turn the vision of a national unification into reality so that our offspring can grow up and live in a shared homeland featuring harmony, peace, prosperity, and respect. On the basis of the One China principle, there is nothing standing in the way of any party or social group in Taiwan communicating with the mainland. Only by replacing confrontation with dialogue, replacing disputes with cooperation, replacing zero-sum game with win-win outcomes, can our cross-strait relations enjoy a long-term stability. We are willing to conduct dialogues and extensively exchange views with any political party, social group, or individuals in Taiwan on cross-strait political issues and other issues related to the peaceful reunification of the Chinese nation, so as to seek consensus in society and promote political negotiation.
我们郑重倡议
Hereby we solemnly propose
在坚持9·2共识
that on the shared political basis of adhering to the 1990 consensus which opposes Taiwan independence, political
各
parties
界别推举代表性
and
人士
people from all walks of life
就
from
两岸
both
关系和
sides
民族未来
recommend and elect
开展
representatives
广泛
for
深入的
extensive
民
and
主协商，
in-depth democratic
就推
negotiation
动两岸
on
关系和
cross-strait
平发展
relations and
达成制度性
the future of the Chinese nation so as to reach consensus and roadmap for the peaceful development of cross-strait relations.
第三，
Third,
坚持一个中国原则，
adhering to the One China principle
和平统
and
一
safeguarding
前
the
进。
prospect of a peaceful reunification.
尽管海峡两岸尚未完全统一，
Although the two sides of the Taiwan Strait
但
have
中国
not
主
yet
权和
reunified,
领土
China's sovereignty and territorial
大陆和
integrity
台湾
have never
同
been
属一个中
separated,
国的事实，
and the fact that
从未
both
改
the
变。
mainland and Taiwan belong to China
一
has
个中
never
国原则
changed.
是两岸关系
The
的
One
政
China
治基础。
principle is the political basis
坚
for
持一个
cross-strait
中国原
relations.
则，
Adhering to
两
the
岸关
One
系
China
就能改
principle,
善
cross-strait
发展
relations can be bettered
台湾
and
同胞
further developed,
就能受益。
and our Taiwan compatriots can benefit more from it.
背离一个中国原则，
Deviating from the
就会
One
导
China
致
principle
两岸关系紧张、
will make
动
the
荡，
situation of cross relations
损
tense
害
and
台湾
chaotic,
同胞
thus
切身利益。
harming the interests of our Taiwan compatriots.
统一是历史大事，
Reunification
是
is a
正道。
historical trend, and it is the right
台独
path.
是历史逆
Taiwan
流，
independence is an
是
adverse
绝路。
current from history and is a dead end.
广大台湾同胞
Taiwan
具有
compatriots
光荣的
have
爱国主义
glorious
传统，
traditions of patriotism,
我们是骨肉天
and
亲，
we are blood relatives.
我们坚持寄希望于
We
台湾
always
人民的
insist
方
on
针，
the policies of pinning our hopes on
一
the
如既
Taiwan
往
people,
尊重台湾同胞，
respecting our Taiwan compatriots,
关爱台湾同胞，
caring about our Taiwan
团结
compatriots,
台湾同胞，
uniting our Taiwan
依
compatriots,
靠
and relying on our Taiwan compatriots.
全心全意
We
为台湾
insist
同胞
on
办实事，
doing
做
practical
好
and
事，
good things and solving the
解难事。
problems of our Taiwan compatriots
广大台湾同
wholeheartedly,
胞不分党派，
regardless of our
不分
political
宗教，
beliefs, regions,
不分阶层，不分军
religion,
民，
or class, whether we are
不分
soldiers
地域。
or civilians,
都要认清
our Taiwan compatriots
台独
must
只
see
会给
clearly
台湾
that Taiwan
带来
independence
深重
will
祸
only
害，
bring hardship to Taiwan,
坚决反对台独
and they
分裂，
must oppose
共同追
Taiwan
求和平统一
independence
的
and
光明前景。
separatism with a firm stance and pursue the bright
我
future
们
which
愿意为
peaceful
和平统
reunification
一
will bring.
创造
We are
广阔
willing
空
to
间，
create a broad space for
但
peaceful
绝不为
各
reunification,
种
but
形
we
式
will
的台独
never
分裂活
tolerate
动
any form
留
of
下
activity
任何空间。
promoting Taiwan independence.
中国人不打中国人，
Chinese people will not fight against each
我
other.
们愿意以最大诚意
We are willing to make the
尽最大
greatest
努力
and most sincere
争取
efforts
和平统一的
for the
前景，
future of peaceful reunification.
因为以和平的方式实现
Because
统一，
achieving
对
peaceful
两岸同胞和
reunification
全民族
is
最
the
有利。
most beneficial way for
我们
compatriots
不
on
承
both
诺
sides of
放
Taiwan
弃使
Strait
用武力，
and the whole Chinese nation. We
保
will
留
not
采取一
promise to
切
give
必
up
要
the
措
use
施
of
的
force
选项
and will reserve the right to use any necessary
针
measures
对的是
against
外
intervention
部势力干
of
涉
any outside
和
forces
极少数台独分裂分子，
and the few
及其分裂
separatist
活动，
activities
绝非针对台湾同
by the
胞。
very few Taiwan
两
independent
岸同胞
separatists, and but
要
absolutely
共谋
not
和
for our
平，
Taiwan
共
compatriots.
护和平，
Compatriots on both
共享
sides
和平。
should pursue peace, maintain peace, and enjoy peace together.
第四，
Fourth,
深化两岸
deepen integrated development on both sides of the strait, and reinforce the foundation of peaceful reunification. The two sides of the strait have the same blood, loved one wish each other well, and the Chinese people should help each other. The mainland provide equal treatment for Taiwan compatriots and their enterprises to share development opportunities, so they can have a great sense of accomplishment and a sense of gain. After the peaceful reunification, Taiwan will forever be peaceful, and its people will live and work in peace and contentment, having a strong motherland to rely on. The livelihood of our Taiwan compatriots will improve, and they will have more space for development. They will be more assertive and confident in the international community and feel safer and more dignified. We should actively promote the institutionalization of cross-strait economic cooperation, build a common market for the two sides, giving more impetus to development and vitalize cooperation to strengthen the Chinese national economy. The two sides of the strait should connect at all needs to be connected, promote smooth economic cooperation, and the connection of infrastructure, energy resources, and industrial standards. The two sides of the strait should first connect their waters, electricity, and gas supplies, and then build a bridge between Kinmen and Matsu and the coastal area of Fujian province. We should promote cultural, education, and medical cooperation, share social welfare and public resources, support equality, inclusiveness, and the convenience of basic public services in neighboring areas with the similar conditions on both sides of the strait. Fifthly, we have to bring about the spiritual reunion of compatriots on both sides of the strait and promote recognition and peaceful reunification. The soul of a country is built upon its culture. People across the strait share the same roots and the same culture. The Chinese culture is the root and affiliation of people on both sides of the strait. The key to friendship lies in better understanding. No matter how many obstacles and difficulties we face, we should never stop cross-strait people-to-people exchanges, not even a bit. People on both sides of the strait should inherit the profound Chinese culture together, so as to promote its creative and innovative development. We have to enhance exchange and mutual learnings, conduct inclusive dialogue, put ourselves in each other's shoes, and feel for each other. Then we can enhance our mutual understanding and improve our mutual trust and recognition. We have to adhere to our bonds, uphold our mutual empathy, educate our descendants on the right views of history and country, and carry forward our great national spirit. For families and relatives, there is no knot that cannot be untied. By spending enough time and effort, we can surely bring about the spiritual reunion of compatriots on both sides. It is our national interest to support and pursue national reunification, and that should be recognized by the whole nation. Our great motherland will provide strong support for all patriotic and united forces. We sincerely hope all Taiwan compatriots can cherish peace like cherishing their own lives, pursuing reunification, like the pursuit of their own happiness, and actively get involved and push forward the just cause of the peaceful reunification of our country. The young generation carries the hope of our country and the future of our nation. Young people on both sides of the strait should bravely shoulder more responsibility. With solidarity and friendship, we join hands to fight for the future. We sincerely welcome young people from Taiwan to the Chinese mainland to pursue your dreams, fulfill it, and realize it. People on both sides of the strait should cooperate with absolute sincerity. Hand in hand, we can all live well together and build the future of our nation. Comrades, compatriots, and friends, for a long time, our compatriots in Hong Kong and Macau, as well as overseas Chinese, have been caring for and supporting the cause of reunification and have made positive contributions in this regard. I hope all of you can continue your support for the peaceful development of cross-strait ties and realize the peaceful reunification of our nation. Comrades, compatriots, and friends, there's only one China in the world. Upholding the one China principle is widely recognized in international relations, and it is also the general consensus of the international community. The international community widely understands and supports Chinese people's opposition of Taiwan independence, separatist activities, and Chinese people's efforts in the just cause of national reunification. The Chinese government deeply appreciates and is also very grateful for this. Chinese matters should be decided by the Chinese people. The issue of Taiwan is part of China's domestic politics. It is the core interest of China and the concern, the feelings of the Chinese people, and foreign interference is intolerable. The unification of China will never hurt the legitimate interests of any other countries, including their economic interests in Taiwan. It will only bring more opportunities for other countries. It will only inject more positive energy into the peace and development in the Asia-Pacific region and even the whole world. It will only make more contributions to building the community with the shared future of all mankind, to the peaceful development of the world and progress of mankind. Comrades, compatriots, and friends, we cannot choose history, but we can grasp the present and fight for the future. It is a new era of major development and major progress for the Chinese nation, and for compatriots on both sides of the strait as well. The way forward will not be plain sailing, but as long as we work together and fight together, we'll definitely embrace the rejuvenation of our Chinese nation and definitely accomplish the great unification of our country.
Fellow
comrades and friends, Just now, General Secretary Xi Jinping gave us a guiding speech on Taiwan affairs in a new era and comprehensively reviewed the breakthroughs in cross-strait relations over the past 70 years since the founding of New China, especially after adoption of the principle of peaceful reunification of China. General Secretary Xi Jinping elaborated on the policy proposing to promote peaceful reunification of our motherland in a new era and the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. General Secretary Xi Jinping's speech highlighted the historical trend in the cross-strait relations and scientifically answered the questions of how to promote the peaceful reunification of our motherland for the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. General Secretary Xi Jinping's speech is of great guiding significance for us to further strengthen confidence, continue to unite all Chinese people, including the masses of compatriots from Taiwan, to join effort for the peaceful development of cross-strait relations and for the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation and complete the great peaceful reunification of China. We should earnestly study, comprehend, and thoroughly implement the important speech of General Secretary Xi Jinping. Let us join hands and unite closely around the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, remain true to our original aspiration, keep our mission firmly in mind, and strive hard to accomplish the great peaceful reunification of our motherland. Now let us conclude the commemoration meeting of the 40th anniversary of the publication of an open letter to Taiwan compatriots.
That was the commemorative event marking the 40th anniversary of the letter to compatriots in Taiwan at Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping made an important speech. He looked back at history of the Taiwan issue and the development of cross-strait ties. President Xi Jinping also made proposals to solve the Taiwan issue and realize national reunification and rejuvenation. For more insight into that important speech, we're joined in the studio by our current affairs commentator, Mr. Victor Gao-Zhikai. So, Victor, in his speech, President Xi Jinping proposed that the two sides of the Taiwan Straits recommend and elect representatives for extensive and in-depth democratic negotiations on cross-strait relations and future of the Chinese nation. How important is this proposal?
I think President Xi Jinping gave a very important landmark speech just now. I think going forward into the future, when people start to look back at his speech, I will not be surprised if this speech will be described as a major turning point in cross-strait relations. Why? Because I think what President Xi Jinping proposed is the beginning of a process which will lead towards political consultation and dialogue between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait, eventually paving way towards peaceful reunification. And this is highly needed and also very, very crucial. And I think he started that process, and in the coming months and coming years, for example, we will see how this process will unfold. So I think the world will be holding its breath to see how this process will miraculously unfold and create benefits and miracles for the people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait, including our compatriots in Taiwan.
From the key messages you've been getting from that speech, what do you think would the process be like?
I think it will be aimed at peaceful reunification. However, President Xi Jinping also reiterated that mainland China will never give up the use of force if, for example, anything major goes wrong involving the cross-strait relations. But he, this time, very much targeted against a third country involvement or some very small number of die-hard people who promote Taiwan independence. He also calmed the overwhelming majority of the people in Taiwan, saying the use of force, whenever it happens, and we hope it will never happen, will not be targeted at the people in Taiwan. And he basically rallied the people in Taiwan to support the One China policy and make their own contribution towards the peaceful reunification. So I think this will be a very important thing. again, another point I want to emphasize is that President Xi Jinping again and again in his speech talked directly to the compatriots in Taiwan. Basically, he's saying the unification of the motherland is the responsibility of all the people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. It's not the only responsibility for the people in Chinese mainland. It involves the two sides of the Taiwan Strait. And he also reiterated the commitment to maximize the benefits for the compatriots in Taiwan in the process of leading up towards reunification.
And that echoes the stance made by President Xi Jinping. He said the Chinese mainland lays hope on Taiwan compatriots. He also emphasized the important role of the younger generation will play in that process you just mentioned. What's the key message here?
I think President Xi Jinping, throughout his speech, played several roles, and these roles are combined together. He sounds like a philosopher, he sounds like a historian, for example, and he sounds like a great statesman. And I think for the younger generation in Taiwan, President Xi Jinping also appealed to them that there are many opportunities in Chinese mainland, and you need to be beneficiaries of the great rejuvenation of China. He also emphasized one point which impressed me very much. He basically said the existence of the Taiwan issue, if we use that word, was because of the weakness of China. And he traced all the way back to 1840, for example. And then he expressed a firm conviction and belief that the Taiwan issue will be resolved when the strength of China as a whole is increasing and when the rejuvenation of China is being achieved. So this basically creates a framework of things that will happen in the coming years, that the Taiwan issue will be resolved, hopefully peacefully, and it will happen in the overall context of the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation.
What about more economic development? President Xi Jinping emphasized the integrated development across the Taiwan Strait, and he raised these proposals like, more closer connection can be built, for example, running waters, energy, and even a bridge connecting the two sides. What do you make of the development in the near future in this economic arena?
Absolutely. As we mentioned 40 years ago, the two sides of the Taiwan Strait were at civil war. Hostility prevailed. However, over the past 40 years, hostility, military confrontation, mutual shelling of each other by bombs, for example, gave way to very high level of economic integration right now. However, President Xi Jinping also mentioned several very creative ideas in his speech. He basically said for Jinmen Island and Mazu Island, which are basically very close to mainland China in Fujian province, for example, can be more connected with mainland China by, for example, we can share the infrastructure by providing water, gas, for example, other infrastructure and connectivity services, so that the Taiwan compatriots living on these islands so close to mainland China can become more and more integrated, not only in doing trades with mainland China, which they have been doing over the past 40 years or so, but also in terms of getting utilities.
And that could be
facilities.
A precursor to something even bigger. Thank you very much, our current
Absolutely.
affairs commentator, Mr. Vic Gao Zhikai. There. Now, in his speech, Chinese President Xi Jinping said the development of the cross-strait relationship has proven that nobody or no party can historically or legally change the fact that Taiwan is a part of China and both sides of the Taiwan Strait belong to one China.
两岸同胞都是中国人。
Nobody or no party can negate the natural attachment and national identity shared by people of the two sides, featuring our deep blood bonds and affinity to each other. Nobody or no party can stop the trend of the times that the Taiwan Strait situation will march towards peace and stability, and that a cross-strait relationship will move forward constructively. Nobody or no party can ever resist the historical trend of a country empowering itself, national rejuvenation, and reunification of the two sides of the Taiwan Strait.
任何势力都无法阻挡的。
Now, for more insights, let's talk to Ms. Joanna Lei, a former legislator in Taiwan and currently the managing director of Azul Management Limited. Ms. Lei, thank you very much for joining us. You can be called a witness of the development of cross-strait ties in past 2 decades. Now, what's the key messages you've been getting from Chinese President Xi Jinping's latest speech?
Well, I think his speech did 4 major things. One is to put cross-strait relations into its historical context, recounting the development from 1979 rather than from 1992, because you can see DPP has tried to negate the existence of 92, which is 25 years ago. However, if we recount it back to 1979, then you're talking about 70 years of history. So that's the number one importance here. In his speech, there are also 3 additional things. He redefined the Taiwan issue as being involved with external forces. Of course, we understand as international forces, as well as Taiwan independence fraction. Secondly, he reaffirmed, which is very important for Taiwan, the principle of peaceful resolution. And thirdly, he opened door for political negotiation and consultation on the basis of a one China principle and with the scientific proposition of one country, 2 administrations. So the last part, the reaffirmation of peaceful resolution and opening door for political negotiation and consultation, are both very direct comeback to what Tsai Ing-wen had said. Tsai Ing-wen has asked mainland China leaders to respect the feelings of Taiwan. However, President Xi Jinping did mention he would not only respect the feelings, 感情, but also the system, as well as property rights, religion right, as well as all the other legal rights. So all in all, it is a direct rebuttal to what Tsai Ing-wen and the independence fraction were touting in Taiwan. And also it has sent a very stern message to the international forces, external forces, in terms of how Taiwan issue is a critical national interest and cannot be meddled with by any external forces.
And Ms. Lei, talking about political process, let's talk about Chinese President Xi Jinping's proposal. In his speech, he said the 2 sides could recommend and elect representatives for extensive and in-depth democratic negotiations on cross-strait relations and the future of the Chinese nation. How will this proposal fold out in the near future, especially from the Taiwan side?
Well, certainly this proposal has 2 preconditions. One is to recognize one China principle, and secondly will be under the overall framework of one country, 2 administrations. So if any parties, that's exactly his quote, any party who is agreeable to this one China principle, any party can be part of this, and all parties can recommend and elect representatives for this discussion. Now, from Taiwan's point of view, Taiwan, especially the current DPP government, has touted the mainland China as the big bad wolf. However, the big bad wolf now opened the door and say, we're going to allow anyone to come and negotiate in good faith. It is now DPP's decision to say, okay, I'm the elected government, however, I'm not going to negotiate with the other party because they are big bad wolf, or I will try to honor and respect the interest of Taiwan people and negotiate in good faith. So I think now the ball is in Tsai Ing-wen's court, and it is a very difficult ball to catch.
Thank you very much, Ms. Joanna Lei, a former legislator in Taiwan. And that's it for this edition of this special coverage on CGTN. But stay tuned for more reviews and analysis. And we'll also be looking at prospects for cross-strait relations on Global Watch, starting at 0400 GMT in 30 minutes. I'm Pan Deng in Beijing. Bye for now.